Welcome back, and welcome back to the channel, and most importantly, hope everyone is having a good day. And we're going to do something a little bit different in this video. It's going to be an assembly video. It's going to be an assembly video for what you might consider a utility knife, but this is so much more than your standard utility knife. Now, this is just a small version of them, but you've seen utility knives kind of like this, where you loosen up your blade, you slide your blade forward and use it for what you need, and as that little bit of blade there gets dull, they're perforated, so you can kind of just snap them off as you need them, and then you just keep pushing the blade up, keep using them, keep breaking them as you need, and then you can also refill these. Now, they get the job done. There's nothing wrong with them, but you can see that there are mostly the ones that you buy are going to be made out of plastic, such as this one here. So it doesn't hold up well to lots of tool use or being dropped. Basically, having this in your tool bag and needing it to carry around with you to various job sites, and it's seen, I would say, normal amounts of field tool use. This probably won't hold up too terribly long before the plastics and stuff start breaking off. Now, again, these will get the job done. However, there's a YouTuber that you may or may not be familiar with. It goes by the channel name of AVE. And this gentleman not only does tool reviews, but in-depth engineering reviews of said tools, but also is an engineer / CAD specialist himself. Now, I'm way over summarizing his skill set, so please forgive me. His skill set is far beyond what I'm capable of, and I'm sure he's forgotten more about engineering than I'll ever know. But he worked with his channel members, or his YouTube channel, and everyone kind of got together, and he produced what we see here. And this is, I don't know if it has an official name. I'm just going to call it the Skookum Utility Knife. And what you see here are the parts that come, and you have to do, it's going to be a little bit of a self-assembly. We've got what makes up the body and the slide of the knife. Now, this is all laser cut metal, and there's also some titanium in here, which we'll play around with a little bit later. But you can see everything here that can be metal is metal, to include the mounting screws to kind of put everything together. Now, I've got you zoomed in on a little sheet of 1500 grit, and what we're going to do is go through. We're going to kind of take these pieces off to the side here, which is the mounting screws, the little what will be the thumb release, very similar to what you see here, to be basically be able to advance the blade forward. And there's the locking pin for the blade. Get 2 of those. Put those off to the side because we don't need them right away. What we need first is this hardware bag here. Now, AVE has his own install video. I'm just going to show you how I'm going to install it. Obviously, if you want to go direct to the source, go to the master's video himself, and I'm sure it will be. Oh no, I'm not sure yet. I'm definitely sure it will turn out better than the video I'm going to produce, because he's been doing this a whole lot longer than I have. Okay, just getting the parts sorted here. Now, since these are laser cut, the first step in his instructions is he just basically has you kind of lightly kiss these with a little bit of sandpaper, and what that's going to do is remove any sharp burrs, things of that nature. We're going to pay special attention to our blade guides here. And you can see the little ridges and the bumps in here is going to be what this piece rides into. And this is what's going to allow us to advance the blade forward and also kind of lock the new blade in place. So we're going to pay close attention to these items. And this piece of titanium, and you'll see this in his video as well, What we're going to do, we have to cut these little nubs here on the sides, and then basically cut the little nubs off themselves so we get a nice flat piece in there. We're going to anodize this. Now, we're going to take the faster method, and we're going to heat anodize this, and it should turn out a nice kind of rainbow blue, like if you've ever seen a stainless steel exhaust on a vehicle. When it's first started up, it kind of goes from the stainless steel color to a nice bluish hue, and that's what we're going to kind of be doing here. And I'm going to use the heat method. Now, I don't have a propane or MAP gas torch, so I'm just going to use the stove and see how well this works out. But the first thing I'm going to do is get these cut, and again, get these nubs sanded down so that it's nice and smooth on the backing. And then we're going to go through all of our pieces here. Again, just give them a nice quick buff, and I'm going to use some 1500 grit to start. And then what I'll do, I'll bring you back, and show you how the heat treating is going to work on this. Again, what you would do, and you'll see it in his video, is that you literally can just hold on to this, obviously with something metal, and literally just run this right into like the, whether it be a propane torch or MAP gas torch, directly into the flame, and you'll see this oxidize into that bluish type color. Now, you could also do an electrolytic process on this as well if you choose to do so, and that will give you, should give you a slightly, or should give you a different anodizing type result. If you've ever seen like anodized aluminum engine parts, like throttle body spacers, things of that nature, where they kind of go with like a red, different colors of that nature, it should give you a different color than if you were to heat. But we're going to go the faster method and use heat on this. So that's what I'm going to do first, is to, again, just get all these pieces sanded down, and I'll bring you back. So one moment. And welcome back. So I figured I'd just kind of show you what I'm doing on these pieces, and I'm not going too aggressive on it, just kind of give them a light kiss, if you could call it that. So for the flat surfaces, I'm just kind of getting as much as I can as far as pressure. You can see about 3 or 4 fingers across, however you want to do it. And just kind of going back and forth, and just to alternate the pattern a little bit. I kind of like holding on to them and just going in a circular motion. Again, this is, in my opinion, your knife. It is up to you to decide which way you want to do this, because what's going to happen is, and you'll see here, it'll leave a nice little pattern on the sides of these. And of course, as we use this knife and have it intermixed in with our other tools, and just from handling and it hitting up against other things, which is what the tool bag is intended for, or I should say a side effect of having items in a tool bag. This will do a very nice job of continuing to kind of smooth out our edges. So what I'm going to do, I'll have to get a separate piece and go in the face of these grooves. But you can kind of, you might be able to see the difference in the camera. You can see how we have our swirly marks in our bottom piece that we just got done sanding versus our top one, which is just, straight off the old laser cutter. Again, it's only 1500 grit. It's not a very aggressive paper, and you'll know that you're getting the job done if you're not wearing gloves like I'm not, and you're starting to accumulate material on your fingertips. And as you do this, just like I've seen, you may see some high spots and some low spots in the metal. As far as what's hitting the sandpaper and what's not, you can go back and concentrate on those areas if you wish. But again, I'm not looking to go too aggressive with this, just per the instructions. Just looking to knock off any burrs, edges that might be on there. Okay. What I'm going to do is go ahead and take care of the surface of these while they're attached together, and then we'll cut them apart. It's easier to handle these because they're a little bit smaller of pieces, but easier to handle them while they're still together. Yeah, maybe a little bit more on that side. You can see we're actually, with this piece, we're actually pulling the sandpaper material, or sanding material off the paper. No biggie. Okay, nice and smooth. Oh yeah, it's nice and smooth. You can definitely tell the difference in the feel of the surfaces pre and post sanding. So this one feels pretty good. I don't feel any spurs on the edge of these. All right, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to get those wiped down. I'm going to concentrate on, I'm going to get another smaller piece of sandpaper and get these little divots here that mechanism or button will slide into. I'm going to get these cut apart and get them trimmed up, and then I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. I ended up using the barbecue grill because it runs on propane, get a little bit hotter than the stove. Now, it wasn't as fast as being able to gain access to like a butane torch or a MAP gas torch, but I'm going to show you one of the pieces here. Nice and blue. Looks like we got a nice oxidation on here. It did take longer. It doesn't look as uniform, I'm sure, as it would if you were to use an actual proper torch, but it looks like it got the job done. Now, again, with it not being a grill, not being able to get as hot as a torch, I did have to kind of hold it in the flame, and what I did was I held it in the flame until I saw the color change and the oxidation start up in one section, and then I pushed it a little bit further, and a little bit further, a little bit further, and eventually then let it cool, flipped it to the other side, grabbed it from the other side, so that way we could do the end tip, and kind of did both of them that way. It probably took about 5 minutes to do both pieces. You know, maybe 7 minutes to do both pieces. But now that we have that done, what I'm doing now is, you can see in the camera here, just laying everything out, and I've got AVE's install video off here to the side, and just kind of getting everything ready to go. Let's get our baggie of fasteners open. That way we can get these out. These are some small fasteners. I've got a nice pack of very fine tip screwdrivers for such an occasion. Let's get our locking pin out, or at least one of them in our bag. He does give you a second one inside the kit, in case you should lose that one. You got a spare, but like he says, you can just take that, leave it in its little baggie, throw it in your toolbox until you forget what the part was even for, and then like he says, you can't throw it away because it's in its own special baggie, because you'll never want to throw it away trying to figure out what it's for. Alright, so what I'm going to do is put you on pause, proceed forward a little bit more in the video, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So I got you zoomed in here. Now, just reviewing his video. Now you'll notice there's a section of these pieces that come in the bag that all have a notch on this side of it. So we're starting, as he says, with the base in here, and we've taken two of our very fine Phillips screws and put one on each end here to act as a guide. And we've got a thin spacer, a thick spacer, the titanium blade guide, and I have to go back and see what he calls this. I think this is the blade selector, but you can notice that all three of these, I should say all four, sorry, they're going to go into this piece, all have this notch on the left hand side of it. So it looks like we need to put our thin spacer, and then our titanium blade guide. Again, all these notches are going to the left, and then our thick spacer, and then finally our selector. Again, all notches to the left. There we go. And then what we're going to do is start to put a fastener on this side of it. And he has a rather cool technique, which I've seen used before, and I've actually done this before myself. But if we take one of the Phillips screws, put it in this first hole. Now, in order to get all those pieces to kind of line up with the base plate, if we take our Phillips screw and rotate it backwards until you kind of hear it click. You may not hear it on the camera because it's pretty faint. And then we can go forward with it. And as you can see there, it threads right in. So I'm going to repeat that process per his video again. Scrolling it backwards until you kind of hear and feel it click. That lets you know you got everything in alignment. And then just slowly spin them in and tighten them up. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of this bottom piece, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So I'm just taking this corner fastener out, the one we threaded in from the opposite side to act as a guide pin, and just putting it back around front now that we've got our other fasteners in. Now these fasteners aren't tight, and as he says in his video, don't tighten them up yet. They're just in there, they're all loose. You can see I can still kind of grab the bottom of this and rock it a little bit from side to side. You can also see that bit of anodized titanium blade guide in there showing through our sandwich layers. It would have looked a bit more uniform had I used a torch, but you know what, kind of gives it some character. It's got some variance and anodization color there. Let's let's see. Oh, anodization, oxidation. I guess I probably should say oxidation, but either way. Let me kind of look and see what we're going to go for our next steps in building our top layer, and I'll be right back. One moment. And welcome back. So just getting things laid out for our upper part of our blade guide here per AVE's video. And now we've got a spacer, a thin spacer with a plunger hole to the right. We've got our titanium blade guide again with the hook for the plunger to the right. And we've got our thicker spacer again with the hole to the right. And then of course our top piece here again with the hole going to the right. So it looks like what we're going to do is take our thinner spacer first, go down, drop it in place, and then we're going to take our plunger, hook that onto our titanium rod, so that little groove you see, hook that onto our titanium rod, so we're kind of like that, and then we're going to take this assembly and drop it in with a small point, looks like facing down, into this plunger hole. And then we're also going to capture our little corner screw again to act as our guide. So we've got our titanium guide and our plunger in place. Looks like everything is indexed. Then we'll take our thicker spacer, go on top of all that. And then finally, our top piece here. All right, perfect. Now, what we should be able to do is now take some Phillips screws, just like we did on the bottom one. If we drop one on the far end here and then rotate it backwards at first. There we go. Oh, not quite there. There we go. Sorry, my hands are in the way. Sometimes I'm finding out when you roll these things backwards, obviously you don't want to strip it out. So if it's not going in easy, I find it useful that you can just grab this stack and just kind of wiggle it back and forth a little bit, and that'll help those screws to line up. Yep, okay, so I just heard that one click. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes you got to fidget with it a little bit. So I'm going to work on that, work on getting the rest of these screws in, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So we got all our screws started, to include the upper one, which we were threaded the reverse direction to use as a guide pin. We reversed it and got that threaded in. And what I'm going to do is go through and tighten these. And per his video, just like he instructs, no need to go, full ugga-duggas on this as far as tightening these, because you may have to alter, because one, it's a very, very small fastener, as he states, so you definitely don't want to strip it. And two, if you've got these too tight, then the blade isn't going to slide as smooth as it should. So what I'm going to do is just take one of our blades here, just get it started in place. Go ahead and slide that in, and then I'm going to go through and kind of tighten these down, and when I get to tighten them down, I'm going to see how easy it is to move that blade, and then we'll come back and assemble our release button here onto our blade itself. That'll allow us to ratchet it as well as hold the blade in place. So let me get these screws a little bit tighter than they are now, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So we got our blade in. You can see it still slides nice and free with the tightening that we've done. Now it's not going to roll out the back once you have it tightened down enough that this blade catch will catch, so you kind of have to just depress that if you want to slide it out the back. As you can see there, you can see it will grab a hold of it, but we can slide it out the front. So that's sliding nice and free now that we have those tight. So I think the next thing that we're going to do is get our blade button assembled here. So one moment, we need these 3 pieces here, so let me bring it right back. And welcome back. So we've got our blade, we've got our top, our bottom, our top, and our wave spring. Looks like we're going to take this bottom part of this pin, put it on the opposite side of our blade, like so. We've got our cutting edge of their blade facing down. And then this wave spring kind of just rides and sits on the shoulder there. Kind of like that. Like he says, it will index. It will kind of fall into where it needs to fall into. And then we can assemble these two, putting the top piece onto the bottom pin, getting them to index. And I'm just going to hold this bottom pin in place. Just be careful when you're doing this because you do have a sharp edge there. So I've got these two together. Again, we got our bottom pin, our wave spring, and the top of our pin. Now this is our retention pin up here in the corner. You saw me playing with this earlier when I had just a blade in there. So if we start to slide this in, lower corner, get the upper corner into this groove, and push down our release pin, and then get our blade to slide in. And then we take this top pin here, we keep pushing it down until the grooves and the top of this button line up with this railing here. That will then allow us to slide the blade and then lock the blade in place. There we go. Okay. Looks like it's a little bit tight. We may need to let me do that. I'm going to do a little bit of sanding on these corners here. See if I can free this up. No, there it went. Just a little bit of a rough spot. Okay, got it. So a little bit of rough spot here. Like I said, I may take this pin, take the blade out of here and do a little sanding on this edge here, but you can see it'll lock it in place. Now it is a little bit tight, but that's when we can come through here and loosen up our screws a little bit. We may have them torqued down just a little bit too tight. It's not too terrible. Also do a little bit more sanding within these grooves. Now, one thing that's going to happen, you got to understand, it's all laser cut and it's all brand new metal. As we use this, it's also going to wear on these ridges and become loose. Not loose, but basically break in and become a much smoother operator. Like, see, already it's getting, you know, better to move, and we've only used it, only actuated it a couple of times here. All right, perfect. Yep, button pops up, locks in. We can push it down now, select what we need, cut and or trim the blade. Sorry I got you zoomed in here. Keep going out of frame a little bit. Perfect. Okay, so one moment. Let me take a look at a few things and I'll bring you right back. One moment. And welcome back. So I just went through and adjusted the tightness of the fastening screws that go through. And just like on AVE's instructional video, let me just hit the release pin here so you can kind of see. I put just a baby amount of grease inside the groove of where it rides, or where it's going to ride inside of these steps that stop the blade, as well as just a very, very small amount on that bottom button as well. And with those in, there we go, you can see, very nice, very much smoother operation now. Now that'll get better, in my opinion, as you use the device and these edges wear in and everything starts to smooth out. So after just a little bit of a break-in period, it should get just that much better. So I wanted to do this video up because it was something a little bit different on the channel, also to help support a fellow YouTuber. I'm going to put a link in the upper right hand corner to his video, and also in the description of this video below. And inside the description of his video, he has a link where you can also purchase one of these utility knives as well. Again, Skookum Utility Knife is what I'm going to call it. But like I said, it's awesome. Again, compare the difference in this, and this is an all metal construction versus something like this. Again, this gets the job done. This will get you by in a pinch, but this one isn't going to be too forgiving for like daily use or rolling around inside of a tool bag or a toolbox, something along that nature, versus this one. This one will help you take a little bit of a beating. Again, you can see that, and you can see that oh, I forgot the word. Oxidation layer of that titanium that we have and that one blade guide piece. You can see that through both sides. Again, I used the barbecue grill, used the blue flame off a barbecue grill. Took a little bit while longer. It would probably be a little bit more even of a color if I would have actually used like a torch, but you know, I think it turned out quite well and gives it a little bit of a little bit more of a unique look. Anyway, with that being said, please check out AVE's video as well and help support him out as well. And I do thank you, and I will bring you back for the next one. Thank you much. Bye.